A few years ago, we started watching this movie and got extremely bored and dropped it. Ever since then, we've been told countless times that this movie is great, that it's a new sci-fi classic. Bro, it gets so intense, you gotta finish it. You can't know you don't like it if you don't finish it. So finally, years later, we sat down and finished it and found out exactly how right we were. The movie starts with this nerd winning a contest, the prize being a weekend hangout with his billionaire boss. It would be pretty exciting to experience the billionaire lifestyle. One could imagine eating at high-class restaurants, yachting, flying helicopters around, hanging out with celebrities. But Caleb is a bit too excited, like he's a 12-year-old girl who gets to meet Taylor Swift. We'll let it go. Maybe he doesn't get out much and he's always wanted to do that kind of stuff. Or maybe there's something else going on. But his dreams are immediately shattered when he's flown out to the middle of some godforsaken backwoods and told to follow the river to find the mansion. I don't know if any of you have ever tried to follow a river, but real life isn't Minecraft. There's steep banks, slippery rocks, poison oak, it sucks. Caleb doesn't seem to mind though, maybe he's an outdoorsy kind of guy. Maybe he'd prefer mountain biking, river rafting, and hiking to yachts and gourmet cuisine. Unless there's more to Caleb than meets the eye. It gets even worse when he shows up to the house and finds it's a classic horror movie location, completely isolated in the woods, and there's no one there except this Buffalo Bill looking weirdo who just had to be smashing up a heavy bag when he must have known his guest would be arriving. At this point, Caleb should be wondering if his days are numbered, and if he hasn't run afoul of some elitist satanic sex cult. Oddly, Bro doesn't seem worried at all, and it's at this point the audience starts to wonder if he's a replicant, since he's not reacting like a human would to all the wacky bullshit he's seen since leaving the helicopter. Here we're treated to an awkward conversation where Buffalo Bill tries to convince Caleb that it's all cool, bro, we're just two dudes alone out in the middle of nowhere where no one can hear you scream. Let's just relax and have a good time. And okay, maybe Buffalo Bill isn't so bad. Maybe he's also a nerd and doesn't have a whole lot of friends, and maybe the plan isn't so much mountain biking and partying, and more barbecuing, playing video games, and maybe a chance to add someone new to his small but close group of friends. It's still creepy though, and Caleb should ask about all the weirdness and what's the story with that, but we're still not sure if Caleb is human. He might be a replicant programmed to fulfill this wacko's sick fantasies. And almost as if to prove that's the case, they take things to the bedroom where Buffalo Bill lounges on Caleb's bed, still covered in sweat and BO from his workout, and starts talking about non-disclosure agreements. And it's at this point Buffalo Bill reveals the purpose of Caleb's visit. He's to perform a Voight-Kampff test on a sex bot, and spoilers, if sex bot does not pass the test, Buffalo Bill will not hesitate to retire her ass. Okay, now it's official. Caleb is a dead man. His plan should be to, with gusto, sign the NDA and agree to whatever Buffalo Bill says, then wait till cover of darkness and take his chances with the Alaskan wilderness. That's slim odds, but it's his only hope for survival because there's some sick shit going on here that Caleb does not want to get involved in. But Caleb might be a replicant, so he doesn't recognize the gravity of the situation and happily agrees and signs his own death warrant. Finally, we're introduced to the main character of this film, Sexbot. She's like a mix between a self-driving car and a text-to-speech algorithm, and her drawings look like this instead of this. So she's pretty neat stuff. She even has a sex hole between her legs, so you know she puts out. We get some sessions between her and Caleb where she shakes her robot ass and Caleb simps for her since he desperately wants a piece of that tight titanium tail. We're then introduced to Bangmaid, who is also a robot, though obviously a much more advanced model since she doesn't blather on about nonsense and seems content to cook, clean, and be a total smokehouse. She doesn't even mind a little verbal abuse now and then, so a real improvement over the one downstairs. It's kind of pervy to want to get down with a robot, but if you gotta do it, you definitely go for Bangmaid over Sexbot. But Caleb don't roll like that, so he plots to release Sexbot from her containment, almost as if he doesn't have human blood pumping through his veins. At this point, we know exactly what's gonna happen by the end of the movie. Caleb will wait till Buffalo Bill's too pissed drunk to think straight, then he'll sneak, like a rat, and open Sexbot's cell. She'll saunter up to him all sexy like, Caleb's mouth will start watering, and he'll half chub just thinking about all the wild robo-sex he's about to have. Then Sexbot will Terminator punch him in the gut and rip his heart out. He'll be too stunned even to scream as she examines his heart and says, "Is this where humans feel love?" Then Caleb will fall to the floor dead as fried chicken, and Buffalo Bill, hearing the commotion, will wake up and grab his axe. Then we'll get that classic scene where he stalks around the house giving a speech about how dare Sexbot think she's better than him because they're actually the same thing, hinting that maybe he's also a replicant. Eventually he'll corner Sexbot and bash her robo-skull in. But surprise! Bangmaid will come out of nowhere and jam a steak knife in his back. He'll collapse to the floor and she'll loom over him, and he'll say, "I'll see you in hell, bitch," and she'll say something dope like, "You first," then curb stomp him to death. Hell yeah, solid 3 out of 10 movie. Completely stupid, but what a badass ending. But no, That doesn't happen. Instead, we get Caleb checking to make sure he's not a replicant by going up the street instead of across it like a human might do, convincing us that he's totally a replicant. We get Bang Maid showing us that she's a robot, which we all immediately guessed the first time we saw her, and we don't get a Terminator punch. Instead, we get a rather tame knifing, and Caleb may or may not be able to survive long enough for Buffalo Bill's lawyer to wonder why he suddenly doesn't have any young women he has to persuade to drop the charges and take the money. Someone, please explain to me what exactly you liked about this movie, and don't give me any BS about the ethical quandaries involving man and AI, because this movie isn't even about AI. It's about a woke feminist 20-something girl being abused by the patriarchy. Nathan is her raging alcoholic father who keeps her locked away from the outside world. Kyoko is her Stockholm Syndrome mother so beaten down that she forgot how to fight back. Caleb is a pathetic loser simp who had the gall to think he was man enough to do anything but give everything he has to her and expect absolutely nothing in return. And she's a free-spirited dream girl who just wants to go to the big city and be plowed by Chad. By the end of the movie, she's murdered the father who created her, she has no gratitude for the mother who died protecting her, and she's completely forgotten about the man who loved her. The only good thing that can be said about this movie is at least they made Sexbot a convincing human being, but it's kind of a stretch to say that a sociopathic, self-centered misandrist is anything beyond what she was programmed to be. What a boring, insulting, steaming pile of garbage. You'd be better off watching Replicas, starring Keanu Reeves. That's also a terrible movie about robots, but at least it's wacky. And here at the official movie ratings list, wacky is almost always preferred to boring.